Just after 2 a.m., we received a call for a disturbance. Apparently someone from inside the store had called and said there was a man with a knife. When our officers arrived, they observed this man in front of the store holding the knife. The officers demanded for him to drop the knife in fear of their safety and the safety of the bystanders, including the clerk inside the store. The man still refused to drop the knife. At that point, the officers deployed a taser, actually shot him with the taser first, trying to get him to drop the knife. He still, that had no effect on him, and he still did not drop the knife at that point. A man continued to walk towards the officers, approach the officers, and at that situation, they had no choice but to use force, and both officers fired their weapons at that point.
Did he say anything?
Right now, we're continuing to investigate. We're looking at what evidence we do have. Eventually, we will interview the officers that are involved to try to determine. But as of right now in our investigation, we have not determined what was exactly said. We did clarify that the officer did demand for him to drop the knife. What his response would have been to that situation, we don't know yet.
Do we know if he was under the influence of drugs or alcohol or anything else?
Right now, we're waiting for an autopsy to be done by the medical examiner. We do have evidence that we will review and see what led up to this. We're going to interview witnesses, including the officers, to try to determine what exactly happened. Right now, this early in the investigation, we're not sure what exactly was said, what type of mental illness or anything, if that is I'll start that part over again.
No
I'm sorry.
Do you want me to re-ask you?
No, that's okay. At this point in the investigation, we're going to look at every aspect to see what had happened. We don't know if this is a question of mental illness or if there was some type of drug or alcohol. We're going to wait till the medical examiner determines what their findings are in the autopsy and try to determine what exactly happened. When we conclude our investigation, we will review our findings with the state's attorney's office, who will ultimately determine whether the shooting is justified or not.
We spoke to the manager, and he told us that the man asked them to call police. And he gave us kind of a play-by-play of what happened before the police arrived. And do you guys think at all that this was suicide by cops?
Right now, we haven't determined it. We haven't concluded our investigation, so we haven't determined what exactly is the motive of this man when he showed up with the knife at the store. We're going to continue to investigate, interview witnesses to try to determine what exactly happened here.
Do we know if he has a history with police?
Right now, we haven't positively identified him. We do expect to have his name for sure shortly. And like I said, as part of that investigation, we are going to look into what type of history. Was there any prior mental illness, or was it a drug or alcohol issue, or some other type of thing that led to this incident?
Okay, that was my next question, for his name and all that, but you're not releasing that just yet?
Not right now. I think within the next hour we will have it.
Okay, and that'll be email or how?
Yes, yeah, or I can call or email, whatever's easiest for you.
Okay, and I guess final question, just given what's been going on across the country, obviously we're not saying that this had anything to do with race or anything like that, but obviously when there's a police-involved shooting, we're thinking of everything else that's been happening across the country. Just, respond to, citizens having to hear this in their own backyard.
Well, right now we're doing a full investigation. We are going to submit our findings to the state's attorney's office. One thing to remember, and officers are trained this, in a situation within 21 feet of somebody having an edged weapon, that person can close that distance into you in less than 2 seconds. So our officers are trained this way. They have this in mind. Their priority is public safety. And in this situation, we're worried about bystanders, somebody's in the store, in addition to the officer's personal safety.
So for those who obviously will say, oh, they could have shot him in the leg, oh, they could have shot him somewhere else to stop him, you're saying he could have harmed them within 2 seconds, so they had to use deadly force? Absolutely.
This is a deadly force situation. This gentleman, if he was within 21 feet, could have closed into these officers in less than 2 seconds. These officers are aware of that. They're trained that. Our officers review these policies annually when we go through our deadly force training, so they are aware of the situation, and in this situation we believe that they felt that they had to use deadly force.
All right, anything I did not ask you that you wanted to say?
Nope, I think that's
What kind of knife was he using?
Right now, we haven't released details about the knife. We do expect to have more details as the investigation proceeds and be able to maybe describe the knife that the man had.
Do you guys have the knife in your possession?
I'm not sure if we have it or not. Like I said, I haven't spoken with detectives in quite some time, since early this morning, so I'm not sure what all evidence that we have at this point.
Can you tell us how many shots were fired?
Right now, we're not releasing the information about how many shots were fired. Both officers that were at the scene did both fire their weapons, but right now we're waiting for an autopsy to be completed and our investigation to continue to release additional facts about the number of shots that were fired by the police officers.
But obviously at least one from each. And can you say
At least one shot from each officer. We can't discuss where the gentleman was struck, the suspect was struck, pending the autopsy.
Is there surveillance video of this incident?
There's
a shopping center or something nearby?
We're not discussing what exactly evidence that we have right now. We're still in the process of compiling everything. We do believe that there's evidence that we're going to be able to review to try to see what led up to this situation and exactly review the situation.